Okay, what I'm going to do then is share my screen to a sandbox, and we'll start with base dynamics itself. Don't know how familiar you are with the base dynamics before we jump into fundraising, and look through that area.
No, we can start right here. This is fine.
Okay, and I'm using a sandbox. What we like to do with clients is always bring the users into a dashboard, giving them an idea what they're scheduled to be doing that day. And it can be anything from, we have 6 cells here we work with, so these can be activities, past events, timeline. There's a feature in Dynamics to prompt you, call it assistant. It can be set up to read certain events, open opportunities, and maybe leads. We can create different dashboards here in terms of how we want people to use Dynamics. The reason we do that, and it can be also for managers too, is that we take the approach that CRM really doesn't stand for customer relationship management. It's better to think of it as can't remember much. And so we want to trigger events for people rather than having to think about what they need to do next. Every dashboard gives us the ability to expand it, to view the records, to drill deeper into the system as we go through the records. So my pipeline, if I want to go down to just seeing, where's the end of my pipeline, I can go right into that. I can go down to the specific opportunity if I choose to, and drilling down into that opportunity. So I have this ability throughout the system as I work with it to move throughout the tools to come down into the system and drill in deeper and deeper and deeper. My activities, if I want to use that as a way of getting into, if I'm scheduled to make a phone call, I can go right to that activity, make that phone call, close it out. But if I need to know additional information, I forget why something about Baker or the past things we've talked about, I can drill into Baker and understand about Baker more in terms of his activities and what's involved. This happens to be a lead. And with a lead, we have the ability of, well, first, every field in here can be configured. This is how we sort of come out of the box with it. So we just have, the lead information scheduled right in here. We can have more details associated with it. We can have files that we can attach that could be saved off to SharePoint. All that's available to me. But a lead, as part of being in the opportunity process, gives us the ability to incorporate our sales process here. And we can have a sales process of where these are the tasks that I'm expecting to be completed as we qualify this lead. Things I want to check with. I want to know if they're an existing account already or contact. I want to know if we're talking to a person who has an estimated budget in plan. Some of the very basic BANT criteria for how I qualify, budget authority, a time frame for when we might be moving things forward. I can build that out into here. These are just additional fields that have to be completed. They can be completed either here or they're nested inside of the whole form itself. But these have to be done and push forward before I go to the next step. And so that way it creates a consistent process that you have and a consistent language that you can be working with. All that becomes available for you. Most often, a lot of people might come in straight into their open activities for the day, of things that they're scheduled to do. Throughout the position, all our views can be customized. We can also create customized views in terms of what's available. I want to just see, my phone calls that's available to me. So I'm going to have those rather than all activities that I want to work with. All that's available for me to work with in terms of I go through the system. I can also just jump straight into accounts if I choose to. Again, change my view and see all of accounts. I've got search criteria for taking me anywhere in the system if I want to, or I can bring up just a specific, account if I see it here. But again, all my views are customized for me. I have the ability of linking all my information across the system. So if I have a case of where a venture's work is really a division of another company, or it's a subsidiary, I can have a parent account. That record can be consistent, same format, and show all that related information to me. I can get into having, again, details about that company, that organization, if I choose to. I can have related contacts that are associated to it. And Nancy's record, same format, same ability to have the same structure in terms of as I'm working with her, in terms of dealing with it. And a bit to cache this morning here. Same type of format in terms of working with it. One thing to note about the timeline, it's recording, all my activities that I'm doing in phone calls or tasks, but it's also going to record all my emails. So this synchronizes with Outlook in terms of bringing everything into the organization. And let me drag over my Outlook just to show that. Let me know. Are you seeing my Outlook, or do I need to restart the share?
I am. Nope, I am.
Okay. So you'll notice that I have these certain highlighted elements here in Outlook. This one's highlighted, this one's not. That means it's already synced. It's already sitting in Outlook in terms of working with it. If it's not, and then I don't have to save this in an inbox or keep it in different folders, it's already connected to Outlook. If I have one that's not, I can look at that in terms of going down to it and just open my Dynamics right here with the connector. And it will go down and look, ask me in terms of the ones that already knows, it would pull up, give me that record. Others that it doesn't know, for example, I might not know Sandy here. It'll ask me if I want to sync her in terms of connecting her in Dynamics, and I'll create a record right from here. So it has a complete integration with Outlook that way in terms of working with it. How are you doing so far? Going too fast, or any questions?
Nope, going just great.
Okay, let me go back. Let me go into opportunities again. All my fields here, and I can blow this out to show all my choices here that I have available to me. Just go straight into opportunities. Put that down. Right around here, go back into opportunities, and let's just go into this Bobby Sign opportunity. Is any kind of, from the leads through opportunities, it's structuring the sales process for me. And I can have my opportunity associated with here. As I'm thinking about this opportunity, I can start recording products that I want to associate, to consider for this. So I can build a product file, have pricing structures for that product file, different price structures, non-profit or profit, or different, distributor groups, whatever my pricing structure is. Built my products out here to have this as part of my process as I'm thinking about this opportunity. It's given me an update of that value up here, but I can now convert that to a quote when I'm ready. And so when I'm looking at this, oops, I think I picked on the client rather than the quote. Let's just go back here and
No, you grabbed the quote.
I grabbed the quote, or I grabbed the actual individual. Didn't grab the quote. Here's the quote. Here's the quote itself. So I can have the quote itself, associate information to it, my discount, expand my product lines for it, attachments if I have attachments to it, shipping information. Again, I can relate activities. So if I have, a call that I want to make associated with this quote. It can be associated with this quote, show up in my activities. All activities, because it's being relationship database. It's the relationship goes account record, contact record, opportunities, activities. All those activities will roll up to the account record. So if I have an activity associated with a quote or an opportunity or a contact, I'll see that not only on that specific record, but it's going to roll up to the account record too. So I can go into one place and see everything that's happening with that account in terms of having that access too. My quotes, when I'm ready to use it, it'll allow me to pull down a Word template and to print that and create that, save it out as a PDF to drop it out, or a Word or Excel file, but we're using usually Word template to create quotes. I don't have any in here right now, but it gives you a sense in terms of how it's working. One other piece that I'd want to show you is in terms of the here, Bob. I want to find I have the ability of having marketing campaigns, marketing lists that I can build to track my information. Dynamics does not drop emails. I mean, it has the ability to send out individual emails from it. I can use flows to create emails. But Dynamic itself is not a bulk email marketing tool. It has marketing automation plugins that we can use, either from Microsoft directly or third parties that we use, in terms of giving a whole marketing automation side, the landing pages, the social media side, the drip campaigns, the customer journey functions, that would create a score to tell the account rep is now something to take action on. But it does build a marketing list and campaign associates here. Gives me the ability to create goals. The goals can be against performances on opportunities and sales. They can aggregate up to teams, so I can see how my team's working and how I associate there. Goals can also be associated to cases. So if I have a ticketing system for creating support issues that I want to be working in, I can track cases, associate a process to that, associate time to that, and have those cases associated to goals of performance that I want to provide. So that's all available in terms of working me through. When I get into the customer service module, I get the ability to add some case enhancements with a much more robust knowledge center, get into a portal for people being able to look at cases, handling that area, and some advanced SLAs and some case and actually I can track cases when people have enhancements of whether or not they're having services set up. I can track it then by the number of cases or the amount of time of cases against that block that they maybe have bought as a support vehicle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want me to get a little more depth into in terms of the basic?
No, I think that gives us pretty good perspective of basic.
Okay. Let me jump into, and I have to start up the fundraising app. This off to the side here and take a bit for that to load. Get a sense what it looks like here. I blew through that pretty fast because I know you're familiar with Dynamics, but
no, I think that was fine.
If there's any question, let me know. Okay, let's share this with you. Same concept is involved. Often we're starting with an overview of what's important to the particular person. Might be recent major gifts received, again, opportunity, maybe open opportunities for major gifts that we're looking at. And I have the ability of also changing, these views depending on my particular person I'm looking at, how I want to track information to be associated with them in terms of looking through that. I have the ability to drill down again into these, basing on the campaign in terms of working with it. So I can look at, let's go back to my overview here, and let's go into maybe one of my open opportunities. Let's bring this open just to give you a sense in terms of how I can flow things across. And I'm going to go into this opportunity with hate. Same concept. I can set up my different funds, my topics, my appeals, my pledges, all that can be associated with him, and I can have a complete sales process for how I want to go through items associated with him. Some of the differences in the fundraising app is when we start looking at contacts, we start to see that we're building in a household relationship with the contact. So not only we're aware of Hayden and information associated with him, but I'm getting everything else in terms of who else is in the household. There's a Delina cook, the wife maybe has her own contribution record that's associated with him. I can have that available to me. I can start tracking some additional information. I may want to have the multiple addresses. I'm sure you remember the people in Michigan who are the snowbirds. So where are they? Are they spending their winter in Dallas, or are they spending their winter in Florida? So I want to be communicating with different information. I can start tracking their giving history. Treat this all as transactions that it will save here associated to the particular fund. We're not using this as an accounting system, but we can sync then with other accounting systems, Dynamics, Microsoft systems or others, to start doing some comparison of how the fund's information is looking. I might want to look at Hayden's volunteer participation. Now there's a separate module for volunteer management that we use that not only gives the volunteer management and all the tracking of their certifications, but it also allows the volunteer to build their own schedule through a portal and associates things that way with them. So I've got the same kind of layout in terms of format, just a lot more detailed information that's unique to the whole fundraising effort. Things I want to know about if they're in different giving groups. And I can structure this any way I choose to in terms of laying out and drilling down into it. And I have all the controls then, in terms of how I set things out. Payment schedules for people in terms of what's coming in terms of pledges, the pledge information for tracking down. I got my detailed transactions because we're reporting everything that's coming in as a gift as a transaction to track it through. So I have all of that available to me in terms of working with, who are all my households, how am I tracking my households, and what's the information associated with them, who's associated with households. So once I have the ability to controlling this, I'm then in a position to build, using my advanced finds and queries that are available, to build some pretty sophisticated lists for being allowing me to segment my groups and how I want to work out with them and going that area. And again, same kind of flow. I have activities I can work with, still contacts I can work with, easy to look up thing, go back and find, let's go find Hayden, or Hayden's record, move straight through. So really easy to move around, easy to find information, work with it. Does that help?
It does.
What kinds of questions can I ask for you in this regard? Because it's the same foundation that gives me complete control how I want to design and use the tool.
When you were talking about marketing and bulk emailing, how would Dynamics handle a fundraising and process, an engagement process, where we were taking the content from our existing fundraising lists, or potentially isolating existing donors from non-existing donors, essentially potential donors,
Sure.
and do a marketing campaign against those donors? What would be the additional application required to do that marketing campaign?
Well, first I would build a marketing list, and I would use, my query tools to build that. I could build that out through my advanced find feature here, which is the internal query tool. It gives me access to all my tables, all the Boolean languages. First time I loaded this, so I'm waiting for the cache up here this morning. But it gives me the complete access to build that kind of list based on whatever the criteria is. I can look at the transactions, I can look at the giving groups, I can build all of that, and it's taking its gold time deciding to load here.
Well, that happens when SQL databases haven't been open in a while.
Yeah, and got to think about it here a minute. But I can build it that way. So I have my list. Now there's two ways of approaching it then. Once I have my list, if I have marketing integrated, then I'm opening my marketing tool that allows me to create a journey for that campaign. I might have a 6-step drip sequence that I want people to go through for the annual campaign. And based on their actions, the actions that they take in that campaign, if they open it or they clicked on, or if they go ahead and make a donation at that point, it can route them. It's a tree function, so it can route them to other drips, thank yous, etc. In terms of working that through. Firing up. Let's try that again. Don't know why it doesn't want to fire here, but it gives me that ability to do that and structure that. And there's two main marketing tools that we would suggest. There's about a half a dozen, but the ones we suggest both is there's a module called Marketing Dynamics Marketing, which is the Microsoft, which is totally integrated, gives you the ability to track all the events, all the campaigns, build out the journey, handle registrations for events, etc. It's a lot more designed for running conferences and a lot of coordinating events. So it has all that built into it, like what hotels people are staying at, what sessions they want to go to. So it's a fairly complex and bigger system to work with. We use a lot of another tool called Click Dimensions, which sits inside of Dynamics 2, that doesn't have the whole conferencing side and scheduling session side, but very robust landing pages, email journeys, tracking the information, surveys, gives us all that functions, and basic event registration. A marketing automation tool does about 5 different things. You have the email drips, which I can create a sequence of email drips. That's part of it there. I've got landing pages that I can create to send people to. Those landing pages can have web forms on it. before I'm asking them to complete information, in terms of filling it out. And then I can monitor all of that and create then activities or next actions off of that. So I can trigger events depending on what people are doing in the marketing campaign itself. I can push out social media and track that, how that's performing. And again, watch and see if my actions are driving them based on that particular email to take certain action, bring that back in and create activities maybe for my major account manager, or at least segment my group even tighter, depending on what action they took. So, that marketing automation pieces are add-ons to this. So I would approach a campaign using one of those tools with it. Otherwise, I'm in a situation of where I create my marketing list and I export it out to Excel and hand it off to my mailhouse or a third-party application. In doing that, I lose the ability of knowing that action that people have taken, getting that reported back into Dynamics so I can trigger the next event, the next action.
Very good.
Okay. Other questions or other things I can show you here?
Out of the box to what we see presented here, what is the time to implement?
Well, you know how that is it'll depend a lot on this is depending a lot on the size of organization, what they want to change and their processes are. The biggest factor in that is going to be data migration. What data are they bringing across from their existing system? You take something, if we're taking a person off, let's say Blackbaud. Blackbaud is a painful system. Any way you look at it, its data is pretty well nested in through it. It takes a while to get that data out, reorganize
it's mostly a manual process.
And reports
re-entry.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the first question is, how much of it do you want to bring? Now, of course, clients say everything, but okay, is it worth having things that are, deceased people that are more than 7 years old in the system? Those become some of the questions that as a consultant just got to work through with them.
Sure.
In terms of data integrity and data. A lot of systems have a major duplicate data issue problem that we'd want to see sorted out first. Dynamics has data duplicate detection built into it. So if they try to add a different record, we can check for that. But that's not perfect. You worked enough with data to know that William is different than Bill, and if Bill moved from a household in Michigan to Dallas and then to a nursing home, is it the same Bill? Throughout all that tracking,
right?
And the communication process of avoiding those duplicates require a little bit of attention in it. So that's going to be factors into it. What we like doing with our installations, specifically in the fundraising application, is approach this what we call a co-managed approach of, rather than trying to force us into, let's say, a 90 or 120 day deployment. Let's look at this as a 12-month engagement of where we're going to still trying to get everybody up and running in those first 90, 120 days, but we're going to stay with the client, hold their hand through the 12-month period. Building reports, being able to support, answering questions, tweaking it tighter and tighter. Because the real issue that we find the clients that have with technology is they kind of don't know what they don't know. And so it's hard for them to ask questions about what they want. We'd rather see them get in it, start using it, start adapting to it, but we don't want them to have to become, Dynamics experts. we got that knowledge, and rather than, we'll bring up the people internally, but rather than them having to have a staff devoted to this, we've got that. And let's let them do what they do better, is get out in front of donors rather than trying to manage, data and build reports and all of that.
One of the things that's difficult with data migration or application conversion from an end user perspective is noise.
Mm-hmm.
So when a new user is given a product such as Dynamics, if they walk into a screen that looks heavily burdened, they get confused, scared, and cautious right off the bat.
Absolutely.
What are the opportunities in Dynamics to restrict what a user sees from their usage perspective that gives them an opportunity to only use the functions related to their business process model?
Yeah, and you want to design it by roles. You want to start looking at, how do we do things, by roles, for example. We can create views of as many as we want to create of different sections, so that they're going right in to what they need to work on, or what their particular role is. And the actual, if they only have certain functions, for example, if they're just doing tribute check processing, okay, so they're starting with a screen, a view that would just have, give me the check number, let's look up the contact information, not finding them, let's add them, let's build that. They don't need all this other information, but if they need to drill down into a particular area, they can. You can drill down. But they don't have to start there.
Are you
So
building
we have to know their
views?
process. Yeah.
Right. Are you building views based on group association to their authenticated user account?
Yes, we have the ability to do that by security and setting up roles, so they start at a certain point. Yeah,
And then it would. So if a give me a position.
You might, you might have somebody who's just processing checks.
Right. So you may have from the finance department, you have inbound receivables, and then
you wouldn't have the receivables. You wouldn't have the receivables. This is not the accounting side, but those checks have been passed from the accounting system over to the development system to record, to match up. Because when a check comes in, we see often that they want to get the check in the bank right away, or it might even come through a lockbox in terms of the annual gifts, that area. Right. But then the check, the envelope, the letter, like I would say, it's a tribute. Mom died. We send in there. We get these 30 checks, $20 checks that are trickling in because they saw the ad in the newspaper, to give to the hospice or wishes.
Oh, sure.
Or the pet cemetery, or whatever it was. So those checks are coming in. I got to be able to find that person, see if they're a new giver, understand in terms of if not, add them, associate that gift so it tracks back to mom as a related gift, because we want to do a report to the family that this is how much dollars came in for mom, on that gift. And so there's a lot of checking and looking at different information. We can create those views just for that tribute group that has that. Whereas maybe the major gift person who's working is more interested in terms of starting out, with their particular opportunity that they have for gifts, and working from there you know, I'm looking at how I close this. What's my next action? When do I have to get back to Abigail and talk to her about her gift that I'm expecting 75,000 from her on that? And how do I flow that through? So this might be the view that we direct them to start with, that we created here. You know, whereas a director might want more of an overview and deal just with the dashboards. So yeah, we have the ability of setting those up based on roles in the organization.
Okay. Anything else you need to show or want to show?
No, this is good. I guess I want to make sure I'm covering, see if what questions you have.
No, I think that's great at process management, volunteer assignments. That when a volunteer comes in, because we know that fundraising and not-for-profits are heavily volunteer based.
Yes.
So if we have volunteers come into a Dynamics 365 application environment and everything like this was on the screen, but their function was just to tag that check to an individual or enter information if that individual wasn't there. Isolating
much more narrower. Yeah, much more narrower.
Isolating unique variables that they have to deal with specifically for their task would be important. How quickly can you develop new views and establish new views for a project like that?
Very quickly. I mean, if we have the fields already exist. These are all drop and drag in terms of customizations, and then you save them. All configuration. None of that's really programming. It's all opening up, building the sections that we want, adding the menus that we need for it, and building it. So those happen very quickly. The real issue is happening up front, understanding what is needed, and making sure we get the field to track it. Do you have a particular client that you're working with yet, or thinking about?
None that are nonprofit, but like I said, with my previous MSP, we were 30+% nonprofit clients. At one point. So it's a passion. Nonprofit is a passion. They have needs for technology as well, and very rarely do they have excessive budgets to handle the technology deployments that are necessary to run a business. Nonprofits are still a business.
Oh yeah.
And they're a business first and a nonprofit second. And technology runs business. You don't.
Yeah.
You facilitate technology to run your business. The better you do that, the more successful you are in operating your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And getting your business to be successful. So this is great. And really appreciate the demonstration. I haven't seen the fundraising module as we had discussed the other day. So I wanted to make sure that we touched on that. We can see how that could be integrated.
And in a nonprofit, you're going to have different kind of functions there too. You know, they may need the more of the core CRM for them. Is they're also working with people that they go to get grants from, people who they go to influence the press, other vendors, other relationships. So they need to track all of that kind of information in terms of the maybe the CRM side of the house. And then when they become a donor potential, they're rolling into the donor piece and expanding it out to include the households. Just depends what kind of nonprofits they are. What kind of nonprofits were you involved with?
Children's ministries, children's camp environments, church organizations, prison recidivism management, other addiction recovery ministries, food service organizations,
Sure.
Meals on Wheels as an example. So there were many clients that had, some governmental support or area community support organizations.
Yeah, we got a food pantry down in Dallas, down your way. That their combination food pantry and adult training center. And so working with them, their dynamics is heavy in terms of who comes into the pantry. They walk up to an iPad bolted down to the wall and check in, so they know who's coming in and recording. Multiple languages for us to track. They're interested in application to the training centers, get involved in that, how they register, all that information. We're even doing a job matching piece with it. So, that's all on the back of Dynamics that we're doing that with. For a hospice, we're using it to schedule the visits out to the initial visit to go out and see, mom or dad, incorporating mapping technology so they see what their schedule looks like for that week, who else is around them already, pushing it to the phone to track, the actual schedule itself and calculate the mileage and time that they're spending with the person, bring that back into Dynamics. So a lot of different functions that we can build into this platform, the basics of it. So it's a very, with the Microsoft platform gives us a lot of functionality.
So before we close this out,
Sure.
Give us a 2-minute pitch about Bob Sullivan's business.
Well, those are the kinds of things that we're doing. We take, we've been doing this now for 30 years, and the biggest point is something I'm sure that you're very familiar with. The technology itself is probably only 20% of this effort. 80% of it is understanding their processes, what behaviors they're trying to reinforce, and how you align that then to the technology so they can be effective. How you monitor it, know that they're actually doing what you want them to do. That's where we spend our time at, in terms of working at that side of the house. And we got great technology people to do the technology side, but these things don't work because of the technology not being right. It's because they haven't figured out the processes or what behaviors they're trying to reinforce.
Right.
And happy to partner up with you on that. If you're doing that work, we can then make it easier for us to pick up the technology side.
Very good. Yeah, and likewise, when InfoGrow runs into an organization that's in need of overall technology management, from the CTO perspective, security perspective, data analytics perspective. So those positions of CTO, CIO, CISO, as well as in conjunction with InfoGrow, the ability to manage business process modeling and business process management. ERP, as we all know, CRM and ERP applications don't work correctly unless there's well-defined business processes.
Absolutely. And you're doing the selection process too. That's good.
Correct.
Great. Because we go into certain places that are just at a loss what they should do next, and some of them in our case of where we don't have the time to sort out all of the issues that they're having with their existing technology and really architect the entire new system for them. Because that's something that is beyond our bailiwick with some of the more the bigger organizations that we get involved in.
Infrastructure and support and a focus on security first and data control.
Absolutely.
data integrity and who has access to what content. That's why I bring up the discussions of different views and applications,
Right.
and ensuring that, I mean, businesses don't understand that there's a lot of things about business that executives in business don't realize. The owner of the company doesn't need full control to all of the data in the server. Everyone in the company should be restricted to the content that's relative to exactly what they access, what they need to access, and relative to writing, editing, and deleting or viewing content.
Yeah.
Sometimes you only need the ability to view reports. You don't need the ability to modify the data that goes into reports. And presidents and CEOs of organizations need to realize that they have people who modify data for them. They don't need the ability to modify the data themselves. So turn off that vulnerability option, that if somebody were to compromise their accounts and gain access to data, they would have the ability to manipulate anything that they have access to. So when that volunteer comes in, there might be volunteers who just do the research to determine that these accounts aren't there yet. These users aren't in the database yet, and they put checks in boxes on reports on pieces of paper and hand them off to somebody who has the administrative ability to modify that content. So those are the kinds of things that a CTO, that a CIO, and a CISO are responsible for managing inside of a business, and that's where we come in.
Okay, that's great to know. That helps a lot. Well, fantastic. If there's anything we can do, and I'll definitely take that knowledge and see how I can apply it, see what we can do here.
That's great,
Kyle.
Bob, I appreciate the time and an opportunity to hear more about not only dynamics, but this fundraising module that's been on the list for a little bit.
Okay, great. Look forward to working with you.
Very good.
Anytime, give me a buzz. Have a great day.
Thanks, Bob.